Hello guys, it's me Zain, and today we're gonna take a look at those orchids which we saved together because you know what? It's been a year since then. Since I made regular updates for you guys about those orchids which we saved together like last year, last summer, I thought it's time to make the 1 year update for them, and I think this is going to be the final update of them because you will know why. They will need no further updates as a saving project. If I'm gonna do an updates about them, it's gonna be the part of my collection updates which I do regularly in every season, end of every season. Soon you will be able to see them in my summer update as well, I think. And if you don't know what I'm talking about here, well, I have a video series about how to save orchids. And in that video series, I had a few dendrobiums, oncidiums and phalaenopsis because I received some of these plants like last summer and I thought, well, this is a good time to make an educational video about them, right? You know, saving is a topic which everyone's curious about. And after I saved these orchids, I made an update after 1 month because I wanted this short time update to see that after 1 month nothing will like drastically change and stuff like that. Then I made another update after 6 months because you know that's a half year, you will see what happened. And also the half year update was good because we transitioned from summer to winter, so in winter there is less growth, so you were able to see that in winter nothing too much happens, but they are being saved, stuff like that, you know. And right now it's summer again, it's been a year, they experienced all the 4 seasons, and right now we can make a final conclusion about them. So let's start with the first one, the Dendrobium phalaenopsis. But since this is a 1 year update, I'm gonna make this actually a reflection back to what happened, so it's gonna be a complete update. So when I got this orchid, this growth which you can see here, this one wasn't on the plant, so you can imagine that only this growth was here, but this growth was still maturing. And on the top of the maturing pseudobulb, the leaves were still not opened up, they were folded together, and well, it was in the process of maturing. But since I had to repot it and since I had to remove a good amount of dead roots and stuff, well, you know, it was a stress saving. In the next video, in the 1 month update, this growth was continuing in maturing, the leaves were opening up, so it continued to mature this same pseudobulb. And in the half year update, this pseudobulb was already matured. In the top there was a brown leaf which I thought it might be a crown rot something, but then it turned out not to be a crown rot. I think something might have happened to the crown, so this previous pseudobulb, well, it did not bloom because it didn't have enough energy, you know how it is. And here's the plant right now. As you can see, after that half year it started to grow a new pseudobulb which is just maturing, and as you can see it is bigger than the previous pseudobulb because these leaves are still folded together, so they will fold out and it will be a little bit bigger than this previous pseudobulb. And I'm keeping it on a good amount of sunshine, so I'm really hoping for some flowers. Maybe we will be able to, well, know the color of the blooms, but if we are lucky, maybe we will know the ID for them, at least the commercial ID for it. Right now, as this new growth is growing, well, it's growing some new roots as well, so the roots are growing everywhere in the pot, as you can see, everywhere. Oh shit, what is this ugly thing here? There are some new root tips appearing, so that's really cool. There are no spots on the leaves, there is nothing in the center like rot or something, so this is a healthy orchid. I suspect that this orchid might have a rather purplish color since the anthocyanin, the chemical compound which gives the color to the blooms, is showing up throughout the plant if the plant has darker blooms. And as you can see on this previous bulb, there are some pigmentation things going on, so I hope that it will be a darker Dendrobium phalaenopsis. Okay, the next plant is my oncidium. Well, bitch, this is not looking good. When I saved the oncidiums, there were 2 plants in the pot, and in the end it turned out to be 3 divisions since I had this smaller division. So first I'm gonna talk about this one. Well, this one had spider mites along the way, I had to treat it, so that was a stress. When I saved this plant, the growth was still not folded out, the pseudobulb wasn't matured, it didn't have any volume because it was just maturing, and after the time the pseudobulb started to mature, it pushed out the leaves, so it became, well, a regular pseudobulb, and after that I accidentally pulled off a pseudobulb from the back. So this guy had its fair share of stress, so that's why it's not growing that fabulous, and that's why it has like just a few leaves. Right now you can see that it's growing this new growth, which is, well, I think it's promising. It might have some spider mites still, which is not good, but I'm gonna treat them and everything's gonna be fine. But you know, I keep my orchids outside in the summertime, so they will have spider mites from time to time, but I will treat them and it will be okay. It's growing some new roots, it's growing the new pseudobulb. That's great. And here is my other Oncidium. Well, this is quite a bushy plant, right? I'm just so pleased about it. I can lift up this whole plant holding only the pseudobulb because, you know, they say if you can lift up a plant only by holding the plant and not the pot, the root system is in good shape. So the root system is really good on this plant. It was one plant, but the connection, the rhizome connection, which was between these two parts, it was dried up. So it had two living parts and the dried up center. After I potted them together, they started to grow. They matured the last growth which they had because they were maturing. They had new growth which were still folded together, and after a time they started to create the pseudobulbs. The pseudobulbs started to plump up and everything was good. But I thought it's not gonna bloom since, you know, it was a stress for the orchid. Right now, this Oncidium started to grow two new growths after the winter, after the half-year update. These are quite the fabulous growths, I have to say, because they are just so fab. This is one of the new growth which is still tinier because it's on the tinier division, but this pseudobulb here, well, it has a bigger growth, and not only a growth, but a fucking flower spike, you guys. So this flower spike is just starting to peek out from between the leaves, which means I'm gonna have flowers, which means I'm gonna be able to identify or at least see the color of this orchid. I'm gonna have to update you on this particular plant because we will know the ID, and I'm just so happy for it. After this bloom fades and starts to put out a new growth, I will say it's a full recovery. And then I had a Dendrobium nobile. Now look at this disaster. What is this? When I was saving it, it had a good amount of roots, it had a good amount of leaves. After the 1 month update, everything was looking fine, so it was growing nicely. But you know, these guys, the Dendrobium nobiles, in the winter times, well, they have a resting period, so I had some falling leaves and stuff. But in the winter time, in the half-year update, I discovered two things. All of the roots are lost on this plant, this was one of the things, and the other thing was scale infestation. So this plant, after having the shock, after I saved it, it was a shock, and then a double shock again, losing all of the roots and the scale infestation, which was hard to get rid of, but I managed to get rid of the scale. That was just too much for this plant. So right now it looks like this. All the canes are actually yellow right now. There is one cane which is not yellow, which is this one, but it's super dehydrated. It's trying to put out a new growth, but it's not really working like it imagines because, you know, it's just drying up. So the last thing this orchid wants to do is to save himself. So here is a bulb which is rotted at the base, or actually dried up, but the top part is not dried up. It has 3 keikis. I think I will just throw out this plant because I have Dendrobium nobiles. I don't need this plant that much because I will rather care for my healthy plants and put my energies into them, like caring for this one which needs more caring from my side, blah blah. No, I think I will just throw out this plant and call it a day. And you can call me rude or something, you can call me cruel, but this is how I work. I just don't want to bother with these plants, so I think it's time to throw this shit out because it belongs into the trash. roast me. And the last plant in this update, the Phalaenopsis orchid. I had two phases to save, which the video turned out not to be too great because I forgot to film the second part, so I just prepared them for repot and saving. After that video only appeared in the half-year update, and in that update I showed you some spikes, bitch! This orchid thought, okay, it's time to put out a really fabulous show. So this orchid has 3 crowns and it put out 2 spikes, which is a lot of energy for a plant which is in the saving mode. So this plant got dehydrated as the blooms were actually opened up, so when they were opened, they weren't opened for too long and they started to dry up, the leaves started to be dehydrated and stuff like that. So I thought, okay, it's time to cut the spike. So after a time I cut the spike off from this plant, and after that this plant really did its magic. The root system started to grow beautifully, the leaves started to grow beautifully, the leaves gained back its volume, so they are not dehydrated anymore. Only the bottom leaves, which are about to fall, those are dehydrated leaves, but that's okay for me, you know. It's part of the life cycle of Phalaenopsis orchid. Everything's good right now. This orchid has leaves on every crown and the roots are growing everywhere in the medium. Like basically everywhere I look into the spot, I can see a growing root tip, which is really good news. So this is a success again, and I'm just sure that this plant will bloom next spring or winter again, because you know this is a prolific bloomer. And I forgot to tell you, this is the Sogogotris, Phalaenopsis Sogogotris. Tiny blooms, the blooms coloration is pretty good, but the smell is like bad breath and dust and it's not pleasant. But luckily you can only feel the scent, the fragrance, if you stick your nose into the flowers. So this is my video for today, and this has been the 1-year update of those orchids which we tried to save together in my last year's summer orchid saving video series, whatever. Also, I will link all the other links from the other updates in the description box, so you can check them out if you want to. And yeah, so we have success, we have some loss. You know, this is how it works with orchids. You will always have some losses because not all orchids are strong and independent individuals. Yeah, if you like this video, click on the like button. If you disliked it, you're dying Dendrobium nobile orchid, which tries to put out some cakeys, but I will throw that shit out. Subscribe to this channel, you can turn on notifications, and you can also subscribe to my other channel, and you can follow me on Instagram. 1-year update, here we go. See you next time. Bye guys.